one. Hey all, it's Monday, and you know what that means, baby. It's countdown day here on the channel. Now you might hear some squeakers in the background because Tessa is playing with the dyno and it has a noise thing. So we're just gonna deal with it as we go through, because guess what? It's keeping her happy. This, of course, is countdown day, and the countdown this week is the top 10 asymmetrical transformers. The topic was suggested by, I believe, D. Gray, if I'm not mistaken, so I want to thank you for the topic. The voting has been done, it's been counted up, it's been collected, so it's time for us to dive into the topic of the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey all, welcome back to the channel, man. I am your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe them while you're at it, light them up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton to let you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I am either a mod or an admin for, and all of my social media. All those links, a mass of links, man, down in the description. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring. Or, of course, hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. I know it's a mouthful. So this is the top 10 asymmetrical transformers, and the voting did not go as I expected. I honestly thought, and had I been amassing this list myself, I think I would have had more entrants on it from probably Beast Wars 2 and Beast Wars Neo, as well as RID 2001. I thought that's the way it was going to go. It's not how the voting went. But as always, we're going to kick things off first with our honorable mentions. And our honorable mentions this time around, honestly, like I said, I just want to give a kind of a shout out to Beast Wars 2 and Neo and RID. Yeah, you can hear Tessa there, hey? Yeah, she loves her dino. But the five that are actually honorable mentions this time around, we have Lockdown. I get it, because of his hook hand, if nothing else. We have Metroplex. Again, I totally get it, especially if you're looking at the asymmetry of like his building pieces like behind his shoulders and whatnot. As well as Quick Strike. Beast Wars Quick Strike was a great one to include because, I mean, you know, just look at his two arms, if nothing else. One is the, like, legs of the Cobra Crab, and the other one is the Cobra head, so Quick Strike makes total sense. We also have Menasor and Predaking. All of those honorable mentions, none of them actually made the list. Who did make the list? Well, you know what we're going to do, baby? We're going to kick things off with number 10 first. Now, number 10 is from G1, and it's one that sort of surprised me, and I actually had to ask why this guy got the votes he did, although a lot of people thought the same thing and thought it made sense. I'm talking about Overlord. Now, why would Overlord get the scores here? Well, two reasons. One, they said because of his jet over on his arm, and because they said when you put the two Power Masters in his chest is asymmetrical because the two Power Masters are asymmetrical, or Titan Masters, if you will. So, like, I guess I sort of get it. I mean, he looks pretty symmetrical here, but enough people thought that the Power Masters and this jet piece on his arm made him asymmetrical that he scored enough votes that he solidified himself at the number 10 slot. And for number 9, while we have mentioned both Menasor and Predaking in the honorable mentions, this is the first combiner to actually make the list, and it's none other than Defensor. And a lot of people said, look, with Defensor, you have a land-based vehicle as one arm, you have an aerial-based vehicle as the other arm. Not remotely the same thing. And when you come down to the legs, you have a car and traditionally a motorcycle, or in this case, Rook is down there. Yeah, I get it. I mean, the vehicles are definitely not the same sort. It's not like Superion even, where at least they're all planes. This is an example where they're all very different, and they all have color schemes that are very unique to them and very different as well. So that also adds to the asymmetry of the guy because the color scheme isn't cohesive. Enough people thought that way, thought along those two lines, the vehicles and the color scheme, that he was able to get enough votes to tie himself up at the number 9 slot. And for number 8, I don't actually have a plastic representation, but finally we have RID 2001 represented with everybody's favorite Mercedes, that being x-brawn. How could x-brawn not be on this? The guy has an entire hood on one arm and nothing on the other. I mean, that alone throws it off. And I'm just looking at, like, a picture of x-brawn here now. Just the way that you have like the roof and the doors and whatnot like behind him. Oh, he's so wild. It's almost like the majority of the car is on his left arm, and then his right arm is just sort of like left free and clear. Yet, somehow, someway, when all of that junk compacts and comes together, we get one of the most beautiful alt modes that we got in all of Transformers. I totally support this one, and enough people remembered x-brawn and his wonky proportions and his, malaligned symmetry. Yeah, that's right. I didn't want to just use the word asymmetry. His malaligned symmetry. Like it? Like it? I just made it up. But enough people agreed that he is off balance, that he was easily able to take the number 8 slot. And for number 7, we finally move into something of titanic proportions with, Fortress Maximus. Now, of course, this is the Titan's Return version of Fort Max. You could very easily have used the G1, and I think when most people voted, they were voting with the G1 in mind. Yeah, just look at the chest. I mean, even with the Titan's Return, yes, okay, he has arms on both sides, he has legs on both sides, but if you look at the main torso, and especially the chest, it's very different. If you go back to G1, I mean, again, the shape of the arms is the same, the shape of the legs is the same, but the torso itself is all over the map that feels like peaks and buildings and twists and turns, and, you know, it feels like a base or a city turned into a robot. A base or a city isn't symmetrical. You have different buildings of different heights, and you know, you have streets that have parks, and you have other streets that just have high rises and whatnot. And the body, the torso of this guy feels the exact same way. And a lot of people felt the same way and thought the same thing, that he took enough votes that he was easily able to come in at the number 7 slot. Now, number 6, I think, is a bit of an iffy one. And every single person that voted for this guy voted for the exact same reason. I'm talking about Shockwave. Now, this is the FOC Shockwave, just for fun, just for kicks, just for something different. This isn't mine. This actually belongs now to one of the scraplets. It's his, but everybody voted with the exact same reason in mind. His arms. One arm is a hand, the other is a blaster. It's always been like that for Shockwave. It's always going to be like that for Shockwave. A couple of people voted for Shock Blast under the same auspice of his arms not being symmetrical, and I get it. It makes sense. You know what? Whether you're talking Shock Blast, whether you're talking Shockwave, whether you're talking G1, Prime, Unicron Trilogy, or FOC, Shockwave always has 2 arms that don't match, and for that reason, and because enough people think along those same lines, he was able to take the number 6 slot. Are you ready? Are you ready for the halfway mark, man? Well, here we are. Here we are once again at the halfway mark. Our next combiner comes into the list with Bruticus. And like for Bruticus, again, much like with Defensor, people cited 2 things. First, they said, look at the vehicle modes. The vehicle modes are all over the map, from a Jeep to a tank to a helicopter to a space shuttle. Just talking about the limbs, forget about Onslaught for a minute. Then they said, look at the colors. You have a gray and purple arm compared to it like a brown and black arm. You have a green, pea green in this case, leg and foot next to like an umber, I guess, yellow Jeep and foot. The colors are asymmetrical, the vehicles are asymmetrical, and therefore the limbs are asymmetrical. Don't even get me started on that skiddly color one from the Fall of Cybertron line, if you want to talk about asymmetry, man. Anyway, cut it, and almost any version of Bruticus that you want to refer to, he easily takes the halfway mark spot here at number 5. Now, while I said that I believed, I thought, I almost even hoped that Beast Wars 2 and Neo, along with RID 2001, were going to get a lot of representation on this list, that didn't quite happen. However, there was one G1 offering, one G1 character that I honestly thought was going to take absolutely number 1. He doesn't. He takes number 4, and I'm talking about Autobot Spike, or slash Autobot X, if you will. That thing was an absolute amalgamation, mix of so many bits and pieces and body parts. It was a hodgepodge mess that had absolutely no cohesion, and I don't think was even capable of transforming, because none of its parts actually went together. You can't get much more symmetrical, or asymmetrical I should say, than a Transformer who's made up of so many spare parts that he can't even transform into a cohesive anything. Although I don't know how messed up Spike's mind would have been if he had attempted to actually transform. Anyway, you cut it. Autobot Spike or slash Autobot X took the number 4 slot. And once again, based on the votes, we are here at the top 3. And at number 3, we have our final combiner who made the list, that being the Titan class. The Titan himself, Devastator. Now here's the thing, there's a caveat here. Some people voted for G1 Devastator and said, like, if you look at his legs, on one hand you have, Mixmaster, and then you have Scrapper. Yeah, I get it. The arms are somewhat symmetrical, at least from the elbow down. But the biceps are definitely not. It's weird because with Devastator, here's an example of a very asymmetrical character made up of 6 vehicles that they did their best to make look and appear as unified and symmetrical as possible. Some people, however, to be fair, the split for Devastator was half the people voted for G1 and half the people voted for the movie version of Devastator and said that thing is absolutely wild, asymmetrical all over the map. And it is. The color scheme on that one, completely all over the map and asymmetrical. If you look at the shape of the 2 legs, I mean, come on. You look at the 2 arms, same thing. I mean, a claw hand on one, the other seems to be a bit longer with more of an elbow. It's wild all over the place, and you don't have to look any further than the Studio Series Devastator to see just how asymmetrical and kind of uncohesive the movie Devastator was. So whether we're talking G1 or whether we're talking Movieverse, honestly, it makes total sense that Devastator would take the number 3 slot. And now we're getting ever close to the top with number 2. And number 2 is, this is my Wei Jiang version of Omega Supreme. This is Ultima Guard, but number 2 is Omega Supreme. And this is one of those kind of like Shockwave where I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm not sure. A lot of people cited the fact that he has 2 very asymmetrical arms with this big, loud orange claw, and then this one doesn't have any type of hand, really, just the blaster. And then some people, when I questioned a bit deeper and said, do you have any other differences besides the 2 arms? Some people threw me for a swerve, gave me a curve, and said, what about the Unicron trilogy version of the guy, where the 2 halves go together and one is like a train and the other half is, I don't know, like a ship, like a spaceship type of thing or something? And I thought about it and I said, whoa, you know what? Even the color scheme, one side is mostly blue, the other is like mostly yellow, like, whoa, yeah, you know what? Unicron trilogy, what was it? Energon, I think it was, maybe. Omega Supreme, first of all, that thing is fantastic and glorious and beautiful. I love that thing. But yeah, whether you're talking G1 with the simplicity of 2 different arms, or whether you're talking about that wild amalgamation, Omega Supreme actually makes sense at the number 2 slot. So if he's number 2, who's number 1? Well, here at number 1, while I thought, hoped, wanted Autobot X, Autobot Spike to take number 1, when this whole endeavor started, when the votes first ever began, I said, you know what? There's only one character high profile enough to take the number 1 slot here. Only one character that will pop in people's minds first, and it is, in fact, the character who popped in their mind first. I'm talking about none other than the character that would love this limelight the most, Beast Wars Megatron. Yes. Yeah, Beast Wars Megatron makes perfect asymmetrical sense here. Purely for his arm. I mean, he has a huge Tyrannosaurus head on one arm, and then he has the whole tail section on the other arm. And it doesn't try to hide, it doesn't try to do anything except hang out and be there. As of this recording, I still don't have the Kingdom version of this guy. My pre-order keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. But if you look at even the original, you can see, yep, I mean, the asymmetry is boundless. Besides for the actual arms, let's look at the shoulders. I mean, one shoulder is kind of curved down, the other one is sort of like poked out, and it's accurate. This is the way the dude looked. He is every bit this asymmetrical. Luckily, the thing that pulls him together and makes him look unified is the fact that his torso and his legs are symmetrical. But when you look at everything from the shoulder and the arm down, and then everything from the shoulder and the arm down, yep, it makes perfect sense that this guy would take the top spot for most asymmetrical Transformers. And there we've gone from 10 down to 1, baby, and it was not what I expected. I thought that this list was going to look way different than it did, but the votes don't lie. I mean, it's majority ruled. That's the way this goes. My personal list, for the record, before anybody says anything, would have been way different with a lot more RID and later Beast War stuff, definitely. Like, where's Leo Convoy, you know? Now, there were votes for some other ones that I thought, honestly, would make the list, and a couple that confused me along the way. Spidor, Iguana, for example, Galvatron because of his fusion cannon, Megatron because of his fusion cannon. I thought that was a bit of a rough one. RID Prowl, RID 2001 Optimus Prime was another one. What else do we have here? Skybite. I thought Skybite was definitely going to make it on here, man. I really did. Thunderstorm, Thrustinator. Come on, man. Thrustinator. Who else? Didn't actually make it on. TLK Megatron, I thought could have definitely made it. His chest alone. And then there were a couple that surprised me, like Sound Blaster. I'm not really sure how he's asymmetrical other than the thing on his shoulder, like Soundwave. Starscream? I didn't get that one at all. Somebody mentioned his smirk or his beatings were asymmetrical. I don't get it. He got a vote, but I don't get it. And just for interest's sake, RID Sideburn could have been another one. So there you go. There's a whole bunch. I think that RID really should have been higher. I think it should have been more high profile, but I'm only the one who counts them up and presents them to you guys. You're the folks who do the voting. Let me know where your favorites fell and how the list went by your reckoning. I appreciate it when you guys come by, give me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you are in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button. Stick around. Have some fun with us, baby. Don't forget that somehow, someway, each and every single solitary day, you do make a difference. And I look forward, baby, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres or the old-fashioned way, baby, right here inside the videos.